Our lives begin to end the day that we become silent about the things that matter. We are still fighting for our existence. The Black community has been harmed and continues to be harmed by an unapologetic stance here in San Francisco around the bureaucracy, the political issues, and that there is no impact for Black people here in San Francisco. So we stand today outraged on the fentanyl crisis overall, but yet and still the crisis of Black people and the overdose deaths of fentanyl. We stand here today to declare a state of emergency in regards to the fentanyl overdose deaths for Black San Franciscans. Black San Franciscans' overdose rate is 5 times that of the rest of San Franciscans. 5 times. We are 5% of the population, yet 40% of homelessness. San Francisco has said a distinction in more residents dying of fentanyl than the COVID crisis. So I ask us, I ask you, I ask the Board of Supervisors, I ask the Chief of Police who is on his way, I ask the DA, what are you going to do? Because arrest is not the answer. Arresting people, small-time drug dealers, is not the answer. We can say we're going after big-time drug dealers, but I ain't never seen nobody all the years I've been here that anybody been arrested big time. The ones with the planes, with the multi-million dollars of money in their pockets. And so what happens is that in 1971, the war on drugs was declared in the United States of America. And here we are right today. It hasn't gone anywhere. And the devastation of the war on drugs was harmful more so to Black people than any other ethnicity. So in 2021, 640 overdose of fentanyl deaths were on the books. 182 of those were Black people. 2022, there were 647 fentanyl overdose. 180 were Black people. Here now in 2023, from January to March, we have 200 overdoses of fentanyl. 66 are Black people. My question is, why aren't Black people, Black San Franciscans, important to the leadership outside of Mayor Breed when it comes to Black San Franciscans? We want San Francisco to care about Black San Franciscans. We are at the bottom of every incident in the city and county of San Francisco. Health, education, mass incarceration, housing, employment, we are at the bottom. How is that? How is that? And it's like 3 reports in 57 years, the studying of Black people, and yet and still, we're worse off today when we were 57 years ago. So here I stand with my community with me, behind me, supporting an impact that must happen in San Francisco. So Supervisor Dorsey promised me that after today, those community members who who have the impact on black people, we will be in room 201. We will be in room 201 because you can't continue to try to do this work without us. No matter what you think about us, no matter how loud you think I am, I really don't give a damn. But it's all about my people. As I say, I am not anti-white. I am not anti-Pacific Islander. I'm not anti-Latino. I'm not anti-Asian, but I am pro-black. I will stand until I can't stand no more. You see me with a cane. Still coming, still pressing, because you are important to us. And so the next voice you will hear will be Supervisor Dorsey. And the last thing, because the chief is here, the DA is on her way, and that is, with the war on drugs, they put a lot of black people behind bars. Mandatory sentencing. And so I work for San Francisco Sheriff's Department. I do this on my own time. I volunteer to protest, to advocate. All this is volunteer for me because of my love for the people. But the whole thing, Chief Scott, and we're going to talk about it, the DA isn't here. We got to do better than just talking about we're going to arrest drug dealers. What drug dealers are you going to arrest? The ones with the planes, the one with the money, they ain't on the corner. And so, again, I saw this before. After working 20-some years with the Sheriff's Department, when they did this before some years ago. You arrest everybody who's on drugs, they come into the jail, they're in the jail detoxing, and then before they can detox and get to a program, then they back out on the streets. So it has to be another plan. And I think we, the people, we can help with that plan. That we can help with that plan. Because everybody who talk about their black community-based organizations, they don't have the impact like the people behind me do, like some of the people on the side of me do. So we are the people that need to be at the table. Again, my name is Phelicia Jones, and I say, power to the people. Power to the people. Say it with me. Power to the people. Say it like you mean it. Power to the people. Power to the people. Because we are the only ones who's going to make a difference. Thank you so much.
Wealth and Disparities in the Black community has been a fearless voice for racial justice, and I am grateful for that organization's leadership on a drug overdose crisis that is putting black San Franciscans at increasingly disproportionate risk for drug overdoses in this city. When the San Francisco Department of Public Health issued its overdose prevention plan last year, black San Franciscans faced a fatal overdose risk more than 5 times higher than the general population. And inequities since then are getting worse. And I want to show a chart, and I want to give a shout out because the Chronicle is doing a good job of documenting this. But here's the data of what black San Franciscans are facing in the worst public health calamity San Francisco has faced since the deadliest days of the AIDS crisis. I want to talk a little bit about my own personal journey here. Yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of me joining the Board of Supervisors, and it is an unlikely road that I took here because, quite candidly, this is a job I never thought I would want, let alone have. But it was the convergence of a public health crisis in drug overdose deaths and my own journey in recovery from drug addiction that moved me to ask Mayor Breed and then voters to consider me for this role. For 2 years before I served on the Board of Supervisors, I worked with Chief of Police Bill Scott. I was a civilian member of the command staff. I started just a couple of weeks before COVID-19. And there was a meeting that took place every month. It was a Zoom call with officials from the Department of Public Health and the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. And it was the monthly preview call for the monthly report on how many people died of drug overdoses the month before. And as a person in recovery, to look at a number month after month after month, knowing that I am one bad decision from being in that number, it made politics more personal to me than it has ever been before in my life or in my career. And I did feel that I was tired of feeling helpless, that I worked for a $14 billion enterprise that used to be known as the city that knows how. And I felt helpless that we are watching a public health crisis play out that was twice as deadly as COVID-19. And I kept thinking, where is the anger at the loss of life for people like me who are drug addicts? Where's the anger for the people disproportionately affected from the Black community? And that's why when there was an opportunity, I said, we thought that there might be a vacancy. I wanted the first person to hear it to be the chief of police. And I remember we sat down and I said, Chief, I don't want you to think I'm looking for a job. But I think there's a place on the Board of Supervisors for somebody who struggles with addiction, who understands it at a moment in time where it might lend something that isn't there right now. I also said to him, and you may remember this, but I have a complicated history with London Breed, and I'd put the odds at 5%. Well, I guess it ended up that I had the opportunity, and I think I'm really grateful to the mayor, I'm grateful to the chief, I'm grateful to God, I'm grateful for the community. But I'm not going to miss the opportunity that voters have given me to serve in this role. And I just want to express my appreciation to Phelicia for her leadership and her fearlessness in this. It really does matter. And this is life-saving work, and I just want you to know I appreciate it, and I hope everybody does. I'm going to show you another chart, because this is another thing that we should be worried about. In the last couple of years, we started to make a little bit of progress, that we're still at unacceptably high numbers of drug overdoses, but it wasn't as bad as 2020. Well, now it's getting worse. And this is, again, credit goes to the Chronicle for this, but right now we're on pace for the deadliest year in San Francisco history, and we have to take this seriously, more seriously than we're taking it. So I'm going to do everything that I can to fight for more responses in the realm of public health and, yes, criminal justice, but also programs that will support and incentivize people to fulfill the real promise of recovery with things that we're calling right to recovery programs. I'm also working with some colleagues on things that we're calling sober New Deal programs to help support people once they're in recovery to stay there. And then to make sure that we're doing everything we can to break down the silos that exist among city departments, so we're doing everything we can to serve people and to fulfill the promise of recovery. At the end of the day, the most important thing I can do is to give away the sobriety I have. That's really the enduring lesson of recovery. I want to make sure every San Franciscan who needs it has the same opportunities to recover that I had. And I'll be there every step of the way to support it.
I like Grassroots because I can say whatever I want to say, when I want to say it, and how I need to say it. So that's me. But this brother coming up next, he has something to say, and that is Mr. James Spingola, Collective Impact.
All right, y'all, how we doing today?
All right.
Hey, I was asked to come down here by my sister, Mrs. Jones, and I'm like, I run. First, my name James Spingola. I run youth centers in the. My name James Spingola. I run youth centers in the Fillmore District, but I'm all over San Francisco, and I just had to come down today, y'all. I went. It's something I just had to say, because I kept telling myself, I used to be part of the problem a long time ago, but with this all that's going on now, I have to be part of the solution. I was coming down Mission Street the other day, y'all, and I was on like 7th and Mission, and I was going past, and I had to do a U-turn because I didn't believe it. I said, wow. San Francisco, I just want y'all to know, I'm a San Francisco native. Born, raised, still here, right? The work I do today, I tell everybody, I didn't choose it, it chose me. But, I love my city. And I've been through some stuff in my city, and I've seen my city go through some stuff. But hey, y'all, this right here, what I seen down there, I ain't never seen it. And I'm born in the Fillmore. I was in the Fillmore all my life. I was in the Fillmore when it was the Harlem of the West. So I've been there all my life. And I'm just like, wow. This is bad, y'all. This is bad. And, I don't know, and I come up here to say, I don't know what the solution is, and I'm not here to blame nobody. It's not one person problem. This is a city problem. This is a community problem, right? I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what to tell you. But you know what I am willing to do? I'm willing to come to the table. I'm willing to start having some conversation. I'm willing to talk about like what we need to do. That's right. Because this not, hey look, let me tell y'all something. I'm born in like I said, when I say I was part of the problem, I was part of the problem, really, I was. I spent a lot of time in a lot of bad spaces. But what I do now, I look back and everybody come through that door, they see me, they call me Uncle. I ain't gonna tell you what my nickname is, because everybody gonna probably know it, but they call me Uncle, and I take that very seriously. I tell everybody, every gray hair on my head, it didn't just grow there, I earned it. And just because you get gray don't mean you get wise. You gotta go through some shit to know some shit. That's what my mama used to tell me. If you don't go through nothing, you ain't gonna never know nothing. But at the end, you all, I'm just telling you, what San Francisco got going on right now, it's not okay, y'all, because you know what it is right now? The word is out around the United States that it's free here. And if you look around and you see who's here and who's caught up in it all, and it's just like most folks are not here from San Francisco. They coming because it's free, and they know they're gonna get a 2-3 year run. So and I get it sometimes, but at the end of the day, y'all, at what point? And because I said I run youth centers, I work with kids, right? So at the end of the day, I always tell everybody, at what point do we say, that's enough, y'all, because you know what, my kids ain't gonna keep getting punished for this. We gotta figure it out, y'all. We gotta make something better happen. Because, just like we come down here and hustle for everything else, we can hustle for a better life, too.
Woo, that's right.
So let's tell some truth.
Amen.
Thank y'all, I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you. So when I was putting this together, of course, I was looking for those who keep it real and those who have an impact. And even though he's in uniform, he has an impact. I met him when he first came to San Francisco. And I told him, I said, oh, you got to come to Bayview and meet the people. He was kind of hesitant, but I sat there and talked to him, and he decided that he would come. But ever since then, how many years has it been, Chief? 6+ years. We done hugged, we done smiled. He done got mad with me. I done got upset with him. But the one thing about Chief Scott, he's there.
Yes, he is.
He's there. And I can't take that away from him. Anytime I call, anytime I say, Chief, can you do this? Chief, can you do this? Oh yeah, Miss Jones. He calls me Miss Jones. Yes, Miss Jones, I'll be there. So I present to you Chief Scott. And so I want the chief to talk about, right, how we can do better and just going out and arresting people who own drugs or those who sell. Because a lot of times, look, I've been there, done that. You just sell for your habit. You ain't selling to make no money. You selling to get that next hit. So, Chief Scott.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'll start with where Ms. Jones left off. You've already heard the statistics. You have already heard how terrible it is in terms of the disparities. How many Black San Franciscans or African Americans that are dying at the hands of fentanyl, 5 times the rate of anybody else, any other category. What more can we do? So let me just start by saying this, and I want to be very clear about this. You know, there has to be accountability for the people that are dealing poison on the streets. There has to be. Because you take any other category where people are dying, whether it be traffic accidents, whether it be gun violence, knife violence, domestic violence, any kind of violence. If we had hundreds and hundreds of people dying in this city, everybody would be saying, we better do something about it. Why is this any different? It's not. So yes, there has to be accountability for the people that are dealing drugs, and I'm not for any stretch of the imagination saying that that is the only answer, because it's not. But that's part of what we must do to disrupt this behavior. The other side of this, as was described by Mr. Spingola, you don't have to walk very far from here to see what he was talking about. I saw it on the way here. I see it every time I'm out and about in this area, and other parts of the city as well, but this area is worse than most parts of the city when it comes to that. People who are addicted, who need help, who are on the streets, sidewalks, bent over, passed out, and the biggest culprit to that is fentanyl. And yeah, there are other parts of the city that are bad when it comes to that. So, here's what we can do more of. Here's what we can do more of. Number one, we have to get the people who need help to help. We have to get the people who need help to help. Some will go voluntarily, some won't. And there are people out there who will help. So we have to ask ourselves, how do we do that? How do we do that? The people that are in need of help can go either voluntarily or involuntarily. And we have to do more in that arena. We have to. I'm hearing the gentleman, and there's some truth to what he's saying. We have to do more. We have to do more with the people that are addicted. We have to do more to get people in services. And Ms. Jones, who, as she said, she works for the Sheriff's Department, she sees this revolving door that she described. When people do get incarcerated, they're not there oftentimes long enough to get the help that they need. Some people can't afford it. Some people don't want it, but they need help. So that's the side of the equation where we can do much better, because we're arresting the dealers. And that number is constantly going up. We're seizing the fentanyl from the streets. And that number has gone up significantly over the last couple of years. But that's still not enough. Because as long as we have a demand, we're going to have a supply. That's just basic economics. And what this police department is committed to doing is disrupting that as much as we can. But we need your help, and we need to work together. As one of the earlier speakers said, this is not us versus them. We're all in this together. We all live with this problem. We all know somebody. I guarantee you, everybody out here knows somebody who has been afflicted by addiction. Some of us out here have been afflicted by addiction. You heard from Supervisor Dorsey, who knows this better than probably anybody out here. This is something that we have to work together on. Because it is killing people in this city by the hundreds. And the biggest percentage of that, by far, are black people. And it has to stop. All of it. It has to get better. We all have to do more, and we can do more. So work with us. Help us. Be a part of these discussions. Weigh in on what you want to see. I've asked hundreds and hundreds of people what they want to see, and that, what I just told you is the answer. They want to see the drug dealers held accountable, but they also want to see people getting help. And some people have to be forced to do that. unfortunately. But the public has to be accepting of that. We can't have it both ways. We can't say we don't want people on the sidewalks. Like the gentleman was saying, if he wants our office to attend to that, then don't get mad at us when we do. That's my ask. As long as we do it with dignity and respect, and we do it constitutionally, support that. Because that is one step in the right direction that we can do better with. So with that, I think the next speaker is our District Attorney, Brooke. Jenkins, thank you for allowing me to speak. Ms. Jones, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
So it's always based upon the war on drugs. And who suffered the most on the war on drugs and continue to suffer 52 years later? Black people. So we have to come up, not only, this is not to say if you break the law, I'm not saying you don't get arrested. I'm not saying that. However, there's other solutions to sending people to jail. There are other needs of people than sending them to jail, because most of the time, like I tell some of the brothers in jail, they talk about they this, they that, and I just tell them, because I keep it 100, you ain't nothing but a petty hustler. And so to be able to save people, we have to be real with people, and it's not about arresting everyone. We have to come up with different solutions in order to get a hold of this fentanyl death in the Black community and others. D.A. Jenkins.
Thank you, Ms. Phelicia Jones, not just for making sure that the Black community in San Francisco has a voice with the politicians, because that's one thing you make sure of, but of drawing attention to an issue that I've been trying to highlight since I took office in July. I was just up in Sacramento recently testifying on a bill related to fentanyl, and while I was there, I took a minute to inform the members of the legislature that I was talking to about the fact that the majority of the people dying in our city of overdose from fentanyl are Black people. That is something that is intentionally not said, and I heard the word intentional said a minute ago, and that is true. It's intentionally not commented on because nobody wants that truth to be told. It is our responsibility, yes, as law enforcement, to make sure that we get fentanyl off the street, from the little man on the street all the way up, and that's what we're working on. But I do agree that we cannot simply restore the war on drugs, and that's not what Chief Scott and I have tried to do. One thing that I know about the two of us is we agree that we must have solutions for those who are addicted. We must have resources. We must, as a city, as a state, invest resources in making sure that there is adequate rehabilitation services for the people who need it. We have to make sure that we not only allow them the access, but that we make it possible for them to succeed. And that's something that Supervisor Dorsey and I agree on, is we shouldn't have recovery centers where every time somebody has to walk outside to go down the street and get something that they need, they're confronted with people trying to sell them the drug that they're trying to get clean from. We have to make sure that as a city, we are taking a multifaceted approach to this issue, both from a public safety standpoint, that yes, as Director Spingola pointed out, we can't have mothers pushing strollers down the street and feeling like they have to get off the sidewalk because they don't want to walk their baby through an ongoing drug deal or through violence. That's unacceptable, especially when most of the families that are having to do that are families of color. We also have to make sure that when we're providing the resources to people who need it to get clean, that we're taking a holistic approach, not just saying the only thing that we're worried about is how you're going to get off that drug, but when I'm off that drug, are you making sure that I have mental health resources? Because most of the time it's trauma that leads people to using drugs. Are we addressing the underlying trauma? Are we making sure that they've been stabilized with respect to how they're going to get jobs and have housing, so that people don't feel the need to be hopeless, to be depressed, and depend on drugs to carry them through the day? And we have to do better as a city and as a state to provide those resources. We also have to be more thoughtful in our criminal justice system to make sure that those who come into our system as a result of addiction are routed into the proper treatment programs. And that's what we are trying to do, is to emphasize that this is not something where we can lock our way out of, we can incarcerate our way out of. It's making sure that when we can pinpoint the underlying cause for why somebody has committed a crime and entered into the criminal justice system, that we give them the option of treatment. And that is something that as your district attorney, I will continue to stand for, just like I sent plenty of people to those programs before I was the DA, but as a prosecutor in our office. And so just know that I am committed to working with Chief Scott, with the mayor, with the Board of Supervisors, including Supervisor Dorsey and his colleagues, to ensure that we are taking a holistic approach to this problem, that we are not simply reverting back to the old tactics that we know don't work, but that we're being innovative and creative, acknowledging the fact that these Black lives matter that are being lost, and that we can't rest until we make sure that we are not having to bury somebody for this reason, because it does impact families, it does impact future generations, and it's not something that any of us should be willing to accept. And so, Ms. Jones, just know I will continue to be a partner with you in this effort to highlight this crisis and to make sure that we as a city are doing everything that we can to resolve it. Thank you.
Okay, so you guys are hearing this from the politicians, right? They are ready to come to the table with the community who's going to make impact.